Hey, it's Curly, and as has been tradition throughout this channel, with the release of every festival collection booster that's come out for the standard version of Vanguard, we're going to take a look at every set that has been released in the game's lifecycle since the start and try to judge whether the set has been super impactful for the game or really hasn't done much for it at all. But today I'm joined by a special guest in Outer Orange. How are you doing today?
Hi! It is weird to see this tier list and you and us in the same room, but I'm doing well. Just to answer your question, I'm doing well.
Weird things have happened, I'm sure.
Can't yoink your twist now.
Oh, no. I mean, you could yoink this video, but I don't know how that's going to work out for you, so you're going to have to get creative.
It by taking this, and then I put someone else on my video and
yeah. On top of my face? Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to, together, take a look at all of these sets and just rank them how we see fit. Alright, so let's go ahead and start at the very start of the inception of Overdress with the start decks. So this specifically is going to be the first 5 start decks, the one for Nirvana, Bruce, Bastion, Magnolia, and Prison, that basically just had their units, a couple of supporting units and triggers, and that was about it. How impactful are we thinking this one was?
Probably say super impactful because that's what people were using to understand the game. We actually see these boss cards over and over again, so there's, it makes sense to me for it to be a good beginner set and a good impactful one too.
Unfortunately, I think it's one of the best deck products to the date that we have for standard.
It was cheap too.
Yeah, it was it's the cheapest deck product we've had as well. So then after that, we had the actual genesis of Overdress with Genesis of the 5 Greats. This was the very first Overdress set that, of course, gave us the Overtrigger. It gave us the new PGs that are units that are based on the number of cards in hand. This is the start of Zorga, Hexorb, Orphis, Baromagus as decks that were available, as well as providing support for the existing start decks that we just went over. What do we think about this one?
It sucks that Baromagus in it.
All right. I will argue that it was the best because it has Baromagus in it.
Can we make its own tier because Baromagus in it has like its own
You do know Zorga's in this, right?
Yeah, that's the only reason we have to keep it up there. No, I'm just messing. No, it's a good set. Honestly, with it having the new perfect guards, which everyone needed. Actually, this set became so impactful that it got overpriced. That's how much this product got bought, and everyone needed everything from it. The triggers, the PGs, the boss cards. Like, this was a very, in a way, inflated set. I remember when I was opening for it, like a week or two passed, and the prices just went like... And I was like...
Then, next up, we have ourselves the Festival Collection 2021. I actually recently did an opening for this on the channel. Yeah, this Festival Collection was very interesting because, especially compared to the ones we have today, the one that's coming out this week, where it is just like the hottest product that's ever been printed and it just flies off the shelves and it has all these crazy impactful cards. This set really had 5 cards that were new to the game, but I don't think even at the time they saw any play, and it was mainly full of super high rarity of cards that were in the trial deck. So any of the common cards were triple rare, and also super shiny SP versions, frameless, beautiful cards of the trial deck ride line, and also their triggers.
The one thing they did right with the set was that they introduced the full arts for the triggers and the ride line, and that is something we have yet to see basically since then. Except for Lyrical Set 1, because they had the LSPs or LSRs, whatever they're called, with the full art. And those also came with the full art triggers. But those are the only 2 times we've seen that happen, and I'm not gonna lie, I really missed that because Vanguard art is so beautiful. And like I said, that's the only thing the set did right. I will say the other stuff about it was a little lackluster. It was exciting because, like, oh, I have my trial deck and I can upgrade it, and then I could upgrade my ride line. It was cool and all, but they needed to put, like, I guess more stuff in it to keep it actually worth buying. Because I'm not gonna lie, I have yet to open a single pack from this set for the very reason of why would I? Like, I have no reason to, aside from wanting to open an SP, but I could just literally go online and just get a single instead, and that's in this situation. It would be cheaper to do that by like a long run.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I do remember trying to get this set, specifically trying to get, I think maybe the best out of the new cards here, which was the Kusi, the Circaia grade 1, that's like 15k.
I forgot about that card. The card became so irrelevant after set 3.
Yep. But you know, when this came out, it was like
that
playable.
is one of the cards, yeah.
Right. So, but yeah, not a good set. Would you be interested if maybe if Bushiroad, in their infinite wisdom, in maybe the future or their closer future, they release a set that's similar to this, that's just full of like rarity bumps for a bunch of cards and SPs, but it has like no new cards?
I think if they did what they did just now in Shadowverse, where they have a whole set dedicated to completely different alt arts of the same cards that have been already out, that would be cool. So like a Nirvana, but just completely changed. Like it's like a winter edition instead of like a fire edition, but it's still Nirvana. Right. Or like, you know, just stuff like that, something unique. Because like Shadowverse just did something like this, and it was actually really like hype because like they're the same exact units, they're reprints, they're full arts, they're SPs, they're pretty, whatever, but they're literally but they're just reprints. But they're so exciting because it's a completely new art of all of them. I think something like that would be cool. And I think, yeah, like that would be a really cool way. But the issue, like I said, if they do something like as if it's for like this set, like for example, if the cards are for like these, I personally might not be as interested, but I think for nostalgic purposes, other people would be like a lot. Like imagine like a Bear Magnus, but he's in like a swimsuit. Like think about it. You know, he's got his trunks on, he's about to go swimming. It would be really cool. Or like they do the same thing with Praxorb, or Zorga, or Nirvana, but they put Nirvana with like cute little animals and all that stuff because it's a bird, obviously. You know, just stuff like that. I think that would be a really cool. It doesn't have to be swimsuit edition. It could be a winter style. It could be like some kind of specific thing where it's like a certain like holiday or something. I think something like that would be cool because then people can have the nostalgia of having their favorite unit from the beginning of D, and they could also have a reprint on top of that in a sense. But I think personally it might be a little bit better for like maybe Divine. Like they do a reprint of Divine, like the Divine cards, but they do them with all the special alt arts, and they all have completely different looks and everything. I think that would be a better thing to do, and maybe this could be like a 10-year anniversary thing that they could do.
Jumping off this, I believe it was the same exact day we got Lyrical 1.
I think it was a week apart.
It was a week apart? Okay.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. It was like that dropped, and the next week the LBTO1 dropped.
Okay, yeah, that probably makes sense. But this is apparently the set that I apparently get flack for saying that it wasn't impactful for.
It has a cat in it! It has the PGs and triggers. It's the same argument as BTO1!
So this set, I will say it is actually impactful because this set, I'm pretty sure specifically this set that caused, or at least it's led to the discussion of the 8 max. No, the 8 max triggers rule that we have now, because when this released in Japan, everyone's playing like 16 crits because they had access to 16 crits in those decks. Yeah, and then you can do that in the cat as well. And then right before this set came out, they decided to update the rule. Like, no, you just can't do that. That ain't right.
Yeah, because these people started thinking about Zorga too, and then Bruce was like a conversation. It kind of like started with like Loista and Loneral, and like that's like, and then like you were saying, like every deck was playing basically 12 to 16 tier triggers. It started getting real bad. So they, especially since the Loneral had the guard restrict, so you just check 2 crits and you're dead, and it just increased the chance of that happening. So they definitely have to cut back, which is kind of funny. We still to this day have yet to go back. I don't think we're going to go back, but it is interesting that since then we've been honestly, I don't even miss it. I know that sounds weird, but I'm actually very okay with there being just 8 crits. Like crits are very game swaying, you know, so I think it's good to keep them at 8.
So another thing about this set, which is why I usually give it flack for, is that this set sold like horribly in the market, and even to this day it is the cheapest Vanguard set you can find, typically for like $16. And I believe what happened was that there was a lot of hype around this set, I guess because Bermuda sets did really well in either V or P or whatever. So I think sellers bought a lot of this, and then it turned out that, you know, people were just buying singles or something of that case, or there was just so much product. Because I remember being able to get like Lorneral and everyone else for like cents. Like,
so to be honest with you, the lyrical never sells well. The only reason, like, now that we have some of the future deck sets that are more expensive is because of shortage. Actually, it's the other way around. It's a shortage problem. So this one might have had less of a shortage problem, and that's why it's doing better. But actually, after this set, I think buyers got more scared to buy 2 into this product, so they started buying less and went to like a shortage issue. But actually, quite the opposite. Like in V, these did not sell very well. And the only reason they even did decently is because they were meta-defining sets. Like, that was the only reason that people even bought it. If they weren't meta-defining sets, people would not be even touching them.
That's kind of the unfortunate part, because I feel like we had a really good high starting with the start decks and, you know, set 1, even though it was like, what the hell, the 3rd reboot, but, you know, it was fine. And then unfortunately we got this kind of stinker of a set, and then this kind of stinker of a set. So it kind of started putting Vanguard in not the greatest start. Then next up, sometime before set 4, we actually got ourselves the Bob Sakura start deck, which was super strange because it is basically the same as these start decks, but just completely separate, which makes sense from like an anime standpoint. But do you think we needed it as a start deck specifically? Could they have not just like crammed it into set 4?
Probably, but they also introduced a new mechanic in set 4, like a completely different mechanic, and she's completely unrelated to that mechanic. What they could have done, which I think would have been cooler, is they could have maybe introduced her with another trial deck in the future. Maybe done like a double instead of just like a singular one. I think that, or they could have done maybe, I know it's kind of weird, maybe they could have done like a Kyrie with her. Maybe just something where it made more sense to come out. The time frame, I will say, is very different between Lyrical and Buff Sakura, but I don't know. They probably could have meshed it with like another deck or something instead of it just being. I see what you mean. Like, it felt weird that it was just standalone.
Yeah. It probably wouldn't have made sense, but maybe they could have like taken the 3 new decks, Greedon, Gravidia, and Flagberg from set 3, maybe made them into start decks.
That wouldn't have been a bad idea, to be honest, because that also makes sense. That could have been a way they could have approached this. That way it's kind of like a repeat of the start decks, but kind of a continuation, and that way it still keeps the new players who are getting to the game, they could keep trying it instead of having this one random standalone. So I mean, that makes sense to me. They could have done something like that too, and they probably could even put even more support or put more effort into BTO3 to make it more relevant. They could have supported Barrow Magnus. So, you know, it definitely would have opened up the slots for those cards.
People were super interested in set 4 over here, Awakening of Chakravarti. This set also got delayed for us. I believe it was originally supposed to come out like in December, but then it got pushed all the way to February. And this set is pretty monumental. It was so good that it's one of the few sets in Standard that got a reprint of it. And it is the set that was at the end of the 2nd season of Overdress, and it gave us the grade 4s for all of the start decks. I don't think there were any new decks specifically in this, but it basically supported all the decks that were in existence at that time.
This was a very meta-defining set because it finally opened up the Bruce Bastion meta opened it up to like Bruce Bastion, Magnolia, Nirvana, Orphist, Flagberg, because this is the time when I was really competing hard with Flagberg. Gravidia got stronger. This was definitely like an insane set. Also, it brought so many people back. This was the set that was the bring backer basically. People were like, "Oh God, this game sucks." Blah blah blah. I'm out. And then BTO4 dropped, and suddenly like everyone started coming back in. It was also the same time where events started happening again too, so it's kind of like a good mix of both. The online events are starting to slowly get pushed away. We were still doing online events, but we were also doing in-person events at the time too, so that's another thing. The reason I know is because I went to a bunch of them and kept playing Flagberg. But yeah, this was definitely a game changer. Grade 4 is having the pseudo new mechanic of you get like the triple drive aspect and just basically renewing what the start decks was doing, which is also cool because the people that were attached to the start decks, they had like basically a new version of their dude to play. So it's like, oh, I play Magnolia. Well, guess what? Now I get to play Grade 4 Magnolia. You know, so it's just all that hype. Bruce players got excited for the Grade 4 Bruce. It was definitely peak D at the time.
Yep, absolutely. Even to this day, this is like one of the best sets that I've ever been released for Standard. Like, if I had to choose one of these old sets to pick, it'd probably be this one. Because shortly after that, we ended up getting Lyrical 2, which was interesting because this is a set that was never supposed to be. Originally, they were only going to support Lyrical once a year, but then the community got up in arms about it, and Bushiroad thankfully responded and decided to release Lyrical sets twice a year. So we got this set here that came out, I think it was in March, and it's Lyrical 2. It supported, you know, most of the girls, I think all of the girls from the first set, including Kyrie, who got a brand new grade 4, and then we got 2 new units in Fortia and Hermenia here, as well as the all the effect triggers for Lyrical as well jammed into this set.
Something about Lyrical and why people were so up in arms about it is Lyrical was always behind. So when BT01 dropped, there was no effect triggers, which means that all the other nations were playing with the effect triggers, playing with all their shiny toys. And then as this was happening, they were releasing new toys to play with, and then Lyrical still didn't even have effect triggers. So I think that was the biggest issue, and honestly, it was killing the hype of even wanting to play the nation. It's like, what's the point of playing this if I don't even have the good stuff that makes it more fun, makes it more interesting, or whatever else. So I definitely think that it was a rush release, so they kind of just like, you know, they went fast with this one. So it's not the best release, unfortunately. Only 2 ride lines. Most of the support is not very needed or wanted. It's actually kind of a dookie set, not gonna lie. But it did introduce the effect triggers, and I personally really like Fortia. But I'm trying to keep my bias aside of like specific desires for specific cards. But I just thought the deck was cool. But long story short, I will say I think this was a more not very impactful set, but it did introduce the effect triggers. But that's basically all this set was, because it was just effect triggers, and that was really it.
We got ourselves set 5, which originally, you know, a lot of people didn't see. A lot of people were hyped about it because it was like the super nostalgia set. We got 3 different encounters. We got MLB coming back. We got Overlord getting a new form. We got PBO coming into the game.
We need to talk about this because wasn't the original didn't the original 3 ride lines also come out in BTO2, which was another reason why people hated BTO2, because it was an encounter set?
Yes. Yep. They came out in BTO2. Yep.
Just realized that's another reason that set was so hated on, because people saw nostalgia on set 2. And people were pissed.
Frame 2.
I remember people were like, why is there an encounter? And then they had to make like a whole statement saying, hey guys, we're only gonna do this like once a year, chill.
No.
But then they released BTO5.
We'll never break this rule. Yeah, and then immediately they break the rule.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, yeah. But it made sense for this because, you know, the original set 5 had these guys, and now they did it again. So like, fine, whatever. It makes sense aesthetically. But then we got the new Craycross Epic units, which, you know, was really cool. We had been learning about them lore-wise, and then we finally got them revealed in this set. Originally, this set was kind of ass, and it was kind of just a set that had like Maple, and that's kind of about it. But over time, this has been like one of the most, in my opinion, impactful sets that's come out in the game, because basically at like every point in the game's history, I feel like every deck that's come out of this has been, you know, pretty impactful and pretty playable. So
this was the first dual nation set, actually.
Yes.
We got introduced to cards that had 2 nations in it, which was definitely a good thing and a bad thing. It introduced generics that 2 nations wanted, but at the same time, it was also cool to see kind of the little touch of both. So you get to see like Ava, but then you get to see her counterpart of like what was it, the dude, I can't remember his name.
Obscurade.
Obscurade, but he's like a Keter and a Brand Gate unit, which was also really cool. They did introduce the dual nation stuff, which, well, like I said, it has its ups and downs, because cards like Maple came out, which is also a dual nation card. And the issue with Maple is that both Keter and Starkea wanted her. So then she started skyrocketing to like a $30 card, and that was a problem. So stuff like that was definitely an issue. For the same issue we had in set 4 with some of the staples in there that were generics, like in lit. This was basically the time where we're just starting getting expensive, and I mean like really expensive. We were starting to kind of see the jump happening more often than not, and it was like between hype and like generics getting printed, and it did start out bad. Actually, nobody wanted this set when the set first dropped, and this was before they started revealing promos for the decks in here. So before they started revealing the promos, this was like the dookiest set possible. We were like, nobody wants it.
And it's just funny to think of, because there's gonna be sets that we'll touch on later that had the same thing happen, where it's just on release, everyone's just like, this is complete ass, and then like a few months pass by and it's like, oh, actually this is like the most important set that's ever been printed. Unlike this Festival Collection 2022 over here, which was a step up from the first Festival Collection over here, because it actually had a whole wave of brand new cards. I don't think there were any reprints in this. This had just a bunch of brand new cards, and it also gave us the Grave Zorga as well as the Orphis Regis. Yeah, so we got actual new decks technically from this. Where do we think we put this one?
Wanted to buy this set. This set was honestly the only reason I think people even tried to buy into this is because of Orcus and Sorga. But I think from like a shop standpoint, this was like one of the sets that you just didn't want to buy into at all, because the pull rates for the set were absolutely awful. You only get like, what was it, 3 cards or 5 cards a pack or something super
3
small.
cards.
And it was just also a lot of the cards were warped for some reason. This one in specific, like it was a very weird set. I will say this is definitely one of the worst festival collections. Sadly, I think the other festival collection is worse somehow. It was a set.
It existed, and it happened.
It existed. It did existing things.
DBT06, which was a huge set. I don't know what it was specifically, because we had all these lows as we touched on, and then these came out, and then for whatever reason, for BT06, a lot of people got into the game. I don't know if it was the same for you, but like my logos were a lot more cramped. Something about, I guess, Youthberg being released and Leonard and whatnot. This set was just super popular. It was actually super expensive. I think till this day it's still like $90 to actually get one of these sealed. But this set gave us the first wave of heroes. This gave us Combine Rusher for Eva. This gave us Leonor and Youthberg.
So personally, this was a skipper set for me. I know everybody else was super excited for this set, and trust me, I understand why. I personally was not interested in Youthberg or Jejuled or Leonor. I was still playing the same decks that I've been playing. So personally, it was a skipper set for me, but everybody else enjoyed it, which is good for me, by the way. It saved me a lot of money, because holy hell, you are right. This was a very expensive set. Youthberg alone was like $50 a copy. It was a time, and Leonor was pricey. Everything was expensive this set. I will say there was a lot of side cards in this set that was pretty impactful for the other decks, like your top of Combine Rusher. I would say it's probably just impactful.
Yeah, it was alright. Not looking back there. Whoops. I got into this set a lot because I think I got a case for this specifically because they reprinted PGs and Overtriggers. Oh, yeah. And those were really expensive. Yeah, with the alt art for the PGs, and the Overtriggers for like every nation were like $20-$50, and the PGs were starting to get like $10. So I was like, yeah, no, I this is amazing.
I would say it's probably then the super impactful then, don't you think?
Possibly.
You know, it was a reprint set for people, and also it was the hype of the anime for people.
Yeah.
I would say, like I said, I personally am less interested, but it doesn't mean that, you know, the general audience was like pretty into this set, especially since, like I said, it was, or like you said, it was expensive for a reason. People are buying it. So
this product here, quite normal, uncontroversial product. The Chronojet Stride deck set. We in English actually got this delayed. I believe this came out in Japan around the time of set 7. It came out before set 8, but they, I guess, saw what was up and they delayed it, or whatever the case may be. But this is, at the time, it was supposed to be a once in a lifetime kind of thing. They were like, oh, we're just gonna bring Chronojet back. It's like only gonna happen once ever. And they basically took Chronojet from G, copy and pasted it into standard, strides and all, and then sort of adapted it, you know, with a couple of new things. Most controversially, the crest, which for every face-up card in the G zone, your front row gets plus 5k power. And this dropped shortly after set 8, and what are we thinking about this?
So from like a customer perspective, it's a good set. Like, you can't really go wrong with this set, especially if you're trying the game. Especially at the time, for about a year, this set was meta on top of that. So it's like, I could spend my $60-$70 on a meta deck, or I could spend $300-$400 on Youthberg. So it's like, you know, and also Ava at the time was very expensive, while also being a really good deck type of thing. So we're kind of in a weird spot here. Yep. I think, like I said, from a customer perspective, from people trying out the game, this was a good set, and also bringing the mechanics, it was a good set. If you were to ask my opinion on it, I despise this set. I hate everything about this product. Honestly, if the crest wasn't a thing, I'd probably like this product significantly more, but this added a lot of RNG that I personally don't enjoy, and a lot of people, I've had a lot of conversations about this deck, both good things and bad things, so it's been a very big toss-up back and forth with this thing. Like, overall, I think the nostalgia of bringing this set in and the money aspect of it coming in was very, very good. I don't like the RNG that this set brought, and that's meaning the crest is it's one of those decks where the longer it lives, the stronger it gets, they get rewarded for RNG such as healing, checking triggers on triple drives, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's what really personally did it for me. This was actually the point where I actually completely lost interest in B, because once this started becoming meta, which by the way, to this day, these decks still are, that this became personally for me, I was like, I want to play new stuff. I want to play stuff that's in D. I don't really want to. And by the way, if you're playing all three formats, this guy was in all three formats. Actually, he was topping in all three formats. Actually, Year Chronicle was the clan of the time in all three formats. So that was another thing that was killing my vibe with this time frame, because it's like, oh, I can just, you know, look at a different format. Oh, they're also playing Chrono Jet. Oh, I can just go to this other format. Oh, they're also playing Chrono Jet. It was like this weird Year Chronicle thing going on, which didn't help at all because the prize cards were also Chrono Jet. It was like, what was happening? I don't know. It was a crazy time. Like I said, not a personal fan. I get the arguments though that people bring up, you know, bringing up the striding, which is really cool, you know, discarding and, you know, going into this cool new boss card and all that kind of stuff, especially for the GR people. Very awesome, very cool. I think this could have been a betterly thought out set. Crest the great ones, start adding stuff to premium end of things, start breaking stuff on that end. I just think the crest is the biggest problem. That extra draw, just everything it did just not very healthy for the game. But that's just my personal aspect.
Yeah, I definitely agree that for the most part it was like a good business decision on Bushiroad's part. And it really worked out because if you know you take a look back, all the other deck products that we had, none of them compare to like the out-of-boxness of this. So for
Very
that
well
standpoint,
done.
it's great. Yeah, and then like also it brought in so many old players that were either playing standard or just never played, right? Or sorry, we're playing premium or just stopped playing. They came back for this thing.
Yep.
So in that sense, it was great. From a game balance perspective, not a fan at all. And from a like, and like from like a standard perspective, in terms of like standard as a whole, I didn't like it because like sort of the same thing you said, but also like it started to get to the point where like standard didn't really have like its own defining thing. Like we had a V premium, which had its markers. We had premium, which has everything, but also mainly strides. And then standard was still kind of developing. And then instead of like developing, they were like, we're just gonna borrow from Big Brother and like throw some strides in here, and then like that's about it.
Why is Jet in impactful? It should definitely be in super impactful.
Yes, you're right. Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
I just thought about it and I was like, it's definitely it's very impactful. Both in good ways and bad ways.
Set 10, which personally I did not like because you know, I was already growing a disdain, and then set 10 also did nothing for me. But set 10 was, you know, pretty, I don't know if the right word is impactful, but it had a lot of interesting things in that this was the start of the mask as a mechanic. So we had the mask order, which was a generic card that was played in a bunch of different decks, which was controversial in its own right because it was extremely hard to get. This set was also impactful because it gave us the discard cyclers, which to this day, you know, still see play. And also, it gave us Gandiva.
Was that this set?
Yeah.
Oh, heck, it was.
This was a huge set because Gandiva has notoriously, obviously, been a really good deck, and as you know, toxic, whatever the word people might call it, it was actually also a good deck for the game because it was a deck that you could just build straight from the set. Because like things like Zorga, Leonor, you have to go back like 5 sets to get all the cards, whereas like Gandiva is just one set, boom, here you go, played it.
It was mainly from this set, which was a really good thing that they were doing because it made it easy to build. I think there was like a couple text people running here and there, but for the most part, it was a build out of that set type of thing. And also, it didn't require a mask, which was a very pricey card at the time, so you don't need the mask either. So you can just, you know, spend your $40-50, build the best deck, and just play it. Also, we were getting just so much support between all different decks, all the different stuff. It was kind of starting to slowly open up the format again, where it wasn't just 2 decks that were just dominating like crazy. So it was definitely we're slowly starting to go in the right direction.
Yeah, and definitely. And then like also this was ironically the time when I guess Bushiroad was sort of focusing in on standard specifically because we stopped seeing, I forgot when exactly, but by then this time we stopped seeing, you know, premium product, we stopped seeing V premium product, we were only seeing standard product. They also stopped support for Vanguard 0. So really, if you want to play Vanguard, it was just standard, and it was this set. Not as unfortunate as the Festival Collection 2023. And this is essentially when Festival Collection started getting good because they decided to do the smart thing and be like, you know, we can release new cards in these that are actually impactful. Like maybe, I don't know, giving some of these lyrical girls new forms and cards that they can use. And heck, we've had this overtrigger mechanic that people really like for so long. Why don't we make new overtriggers as well? So what are we thinking here?
I would say it was a super impactful set. It actually changed the format. The triggers definitely changed the format. People were Forbidal, I believe, is in this set too.
Yes, Forbidal is
definitely
in this set,
a new Regalia's piece, by the way. So this set kind of did it all in one thing. It introduced new ride lines, new mechanics, like basically, or upgrade mechanics, I should say. So we got the new Regalia's piece, which was also impactful. We got the overtriggers, also impactful, and I think we even had reprints in this set.
Yes, we had a bunch of reprints as well.
So this was a lot going on in one set, and people were buying this from what I saw pretty well. I think it was getting bought out pretty well, and also it was a very expensive set too. On top of that, the overtriggers were expensive. The Forbidal was expensive. Ballista at the time was expensive because it was like one of the best decks in the format. So yeah, it definitely brought in a lot of goodies. Also, it did finally somewhat adjust the format where it wasn't just Jet Ava. We actually introduced and Gandiva at the time. We introduced a fourth deck, which was Ballista. So yeah, I think I personally actually like that those the red and blue OTs. They're actually, if those of you guys watching out there, you'll notice a lot of decks run red blue over their nation ones because they're just that good. So that's another thing that kind of was interesting, I guess, and also just something different. So I like this set personally. It was fun for me.
Yeah, and another thing that was really good too is that like they released Forbidal and the triggers and whatnot, but they found a way to support every deck just with these like 4 cards or whatever, because maybe you play not a lyrical deck, but you can still get value from this product because they also had triggers in this set, like common triggers, but also if you get the over trigger, like, oh yeah, I kind of need that. Oh, Forbidal for my Drag Jeweled. Yeah, that'd be kind of nice actually. So.
Exactly. And they also supported BT04, funnily enough, because they search for grade 4. And you can add those to hand, and you can play grade 4 decks. So they were just doing like kind of like an all-in-one thing, which was really good. That's what made this set really good, because like people are like, oh man, I could play my Magnolia deck from BT04 over here if I want to, or it could be like you could be like like a grade 3 player. It could be like me. You play Zorga and you call a Zorga and a dragon, and bounce the Zorga back to get Persona. It was just adding so much interest. A lot of people also didn't like the Forbidal for very obvious reasons. It's a one-of again, so it's one of those things you draw into it. Your deck is significantly gets stronger because of it. But I would say in D it wasn't as crazy, but it definitely worked premium in its own way. People like, especially in Grand Blue, people are like, wow, this card's insane. I get to draw a ton of cards because I found this one of. So that's
and it was also a good product in that one of the complaints I have coming from this set is that you buy one of these boxes and you just get a bunch of cards that you can't use, because we started getting a bunch of like these mass specific cards. I'm just like, I don't play this.
True.
I can't
There's
do
a lot
of
those weird cards.
It's a bunch of junk. A set that sort of had that same issue was now the set 11 here, which was the set that gave us the upgraded version of the Cray Cross Epics, which was like this new way to do cross rides for Vanguard. Because you had to have the original Cray Cross Epic from all the way from set 5, and then you had a new version that you would ride over it, and you get all these funky effects. And it also gave us the encounters of Ezel and Vermilion, which unfortunately were not super impactful in themselves, but it also gave us the cyclers of the order package that we're seeing played in just about every deck nowadays. So this is where we got the Tetrafault. This is where we got the orders that you can search with that one card and then grab it back and all that jazz. This set, like I want to say like a month or two after it was released, for whatever reason, it started being extremely cheap. Like sellers were just trying to get rid of this, because I started seeing it being sold for like $16 or something like that. I think 50 cards sold like a case of these for like $400 or something ridiculous like that.
That's crazy. Now
so they were just that price. Yeah, they were just trying to like push this product away for whatever reason, which is just funny for me to think of now, because you think of like Tetrafault, who's like a $50 card now, and everyone's trying to get her, and like a bunch of all the other cards are in this set. Like even the granted they got reprinted. But the Cray Cross Epic bosses, right? They're all seeing play now because they got their promos and stuff like that. So there's a lot of insane stuff in this set. But then at the time, it was just like, get this away from me. So
yeah, I think at the time there was just the future potential wasn't there. You know, obviously it was hard to tell like that those cards were randomly gonna get good type of thing. And also this was the Bang Dream set. They had like a Bang Dream collab in this set as well. That was also really cool. So you got these fancy triggers. I remember there being a lot of hype behind this set just to get the triggers and stuff like that. There's some manga exclusive alt arts that came out in this set too. They're really cool. Also really pretty random cards. I think I overall thought this set was good. I will say if you were interested in the boss cards, it was a little weak at the time. They got a little bit better now, but the boss cards were definitely not at their strongest. And I think if you were interested in the Crate Epic, it was cool. But if you weren't, this was like a sleeper set for a lot of people. I think that's probably what hurt this set the most. But I thought it was decent. I think also I will say Greedon Mask came out this set, which is really random by the way. But Greedon Mask was actually a very impactful deck at the time. And that definitely was something to also kind of keep track of. Also, it's really cheap. It was a very secondary other option that you could play, and you could perform well with it. It was definitely some performance. So I think that's another thing to kind of note. But otherwise, it's just now it's starting to be more important because cross epics are getting more impactful now. But at the time, it was definitely like a wire. But it wasn't terrible either. You know what I see? I see the best product ever printed in Cardfight Vanguard. Oh yeah! Look at that, the best product.
Ooh. For those that don't
everyone
know,
bought this. Every person I know bought this. Like, this was the set. Like, this was better than everything on this list. Like,
oof. Ironically, I
don't know what people were smoking when they thought about this product. Like when they were in the laboratories going, what would be a good thing to print for Cardfight Vanguard? If you guys need context for this set, they were trying to basically reprint Mask, but they just did it in the weirdest way you could possibly. They put like a playmat in here, like sleeves or something.
No sleeves.
And then no sleeves. But the worst part is it was insanely expensive. This is like what an $80 deck set or something. I have to look back and see what's in here. I don't know a single person that bought this. Not a single. You bought this?
I know two people. Me, because I did a whole video on why this set was ass, and then one other person. That's it.
Oh my! I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. I know an individual that is not near me, who's right on top of me, who for some forsaken reason needed to do this for content. It is. I think out of every product that's ever come out in Vanguard, that has to be the worst one. There's no way anything beats that.
We got ourselves DBT 14, which was a little bit controversial, but this was the final blow-off set for the Wildress anime and just Overdress as a whole in terms of the current iteration of it, because we were looking forward to some new stuff on the horizon, and this gave us sort of finality for all of the decks that they were hyping up to this time for, Nirvana, Youthberg, Leonorn, as well as support for just about a bunch of other decks. Got a bunch of support in this. We also got ourselves Grifagilia, the grade 11 that we didn't touch on before when it came out in, I believe it was set 10 or 9. Yeah, it came out in set 9. And this set was, kind of controversial because I think at the time it kind of opened up the meta again, because there were a lot of decks from this set that specifically came playable, and I think it was the kind of thing where also this set was just, in comparison to this one, became kind of dookie, right? Because you were playing Orpheus Mask and Bastion and stuff, and then this set, those decks are kind of irrelevant compared to the Full Blast and the Vivance and all that jazz.
They also introduced the grade 3 generics in this one that were also really good. The one where you discard if you ride up, and you get to draw a card if you can just go for stride as well. They were also really good cards, which are definitely starting to show a lot of interest now. So it's definitely another thing to note. I don't know if it's touching super impactful, because it's not a set I'm going to go back and go, that's a set I remember. But it wasn't dookie either, where it's on the bottom tier. I think it's closer to super impactful, but I don't think it touches. I don't think it's in super impactful. But definitely it wasn't bad for sure. So because I definitely had a lot of good stuff in there. I'm kind of looking back on it right now.
This is going to be the last product for the Wildress era, and I will tell you, this is my least favorite product. I think almost as much as this.
Really?
Yeah, because this product was good, right? So this was a triple drive booster. This was essentially like a mini festival collection in that it had a bunch of reprints. It was majority reprints, and it also had a lot of high rarity SIR cards for a bunch of cards that were featured in the anime, but also all of the triggers for, of course, everything except Lyrical. And they even had two new decks in this. My problem with this is that these things were short printed. And Vanguard's already a super niche game, so it's basically like it's being short printed twice. So it was just super difficult to get any of the cards in this, let alone any of the product. So it was kind of a whole mess, honestly.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's definitely also had ladder in it, which was to fight Shiranui, the strongest deck in the format. Everybody wanted that card. And it was like a $90 card, basically. Now it dropped to $68, which is still stupidly expensive. By the way, it's been months. Still very, very priced. To this day, people are still, looking for this card. But probably the most expensive part of Vanguard was around Triple Boost era, between the ladder. Unless you're playing Shiranui. If you're playing pure Shiranui, you weren't really crying too hard. But if you were like any other deck that isn't like super niche, you were kind of in trouble. But I don't hate it as much as you do. I think as a set, if you subtract all the short printness, I think it was okay. It was just basically reprints. But I will say the art was really cool overall, and definitely good sought out chase cards in here. And like I said, I don't think the set itself was really that bad. I think it'd be more enjoyable if Blue Art and Shiranui didn't exist. I ain't even gonna lie.
Once we were done with the Dress era, we started going into the Divines era, which we're in now. And this was going to be a sort of soft reboot, not a complete reboot of the game, but we're just going to start with new decks, new characters in the anime and so what, and to get new players into this, along with the new mechanic that we had of the energy generator and just energy as a whole as a concept in the game. We had these startup trial decks here, which only had I guess technically 2 cards, in the whole deck set that actually had an effect on them, which were just the boss himself and the PGs. They came with 40 or 50 cards or something like that. They had a special little pack that gave you, 1 or 2 cards that were a reprint, and it came with a mat, some coins, usual nonsense. In English, we got them with sleeves, and they came in the same box that we had for the trial deck stuff, and they were almost twice as expensive as these trial decks as well. On top of all of this, all the cards are vanilla, and then this was a mandatory product for anyone that plays Vanguard to buy, because they decided to make a rule change where in order to play Vanguard officially, you needed to have an energy generator in your ride deck officially, or you just cannot play the game. What do we think about this super great product that essentially gave us a license to play the game now?
Yeah, you basically have to drop $20 just to play the game. I will say, I don't think they were that much more expensive than the Leonore set. I think they were the same price, at least where I was around.
Well,
they were around $24, and Leonore was $24.99. I remember that very correctly.
Well, it was afterwards. That was after they bought it out for Elementaria, but originally these were like $15, $13. But then Elementaria shot it up. But these started at $20. Sense. Yeah.
But I think this was definitely not the right move. They could have taken this in so many directions, and I feel like they almost chose like the worst path. Like especially having mandatory cards in there, which had to make you forcefully buy these. Like even I had to forcefully buy one just to play at locals if I wanted to play, even if I had no interest in the trial decks. I still had to buy it just so I could play my other deck. There's just a bunch of other card games where it's just way easier. You pick up your 2 trials, you instantly have a deck, you can go play. There's a lot of more accessible, and it's cheaper too. A lot of more cheaper product. I am gonna name it. One Piece has really good trial decks. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. They do. But I agree with you. It's very hard to get people in, and this trial deck product was definitely not it. The start decks, the very first, like Honor Super Impactful, was the best way to get people into the game. I actually sometimes to this day still use those start decks. I have actually sleeved up decks like back here. Whenever I need to teach someone a new deck, I just give them Nirvana, start deck Nirvana, and go, here you go, let's learn the game. And it is still the best way to learn the game.
But at least we can gain some solace in this set here, Divine Set 1, their very first set first actual official product, booster product of the Vines, which had a lot of interesting new things. So this is the first official set, first main set that we got that included the use of energy. It included the 50 card main deck. It included also Lyrical officially as part of the main, booster. And it also started with all of the new cards from the brand new anime that started here. And of course, we're still technically in the midst of this set. We just in English got the second set of this, so we're still technically playing with a lot of the cards here. But with some, I guess, future sight, I think you might agree with this, but I feel like, a year from now, we're gonna look at this and be like, wow, this set was actually pretty impactful.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think in every aspect, this was like a set for everyone. It's back to the whole, the drawing board again of like, it was just a good first set. Everything you needed. I think it had new PGs in here too, just different art for you to play with. Obviously, the energy counters were in here. The fact that Lyrical's in here was also really nice because we went away from the whole Lyrical not being able to Lyrical always being behind. So that was another thing that. And hello, cat again. I think everyone can agree that this was just an overall good set. Like, I would say I'm not like a huge Divine fan, but I'm not on the edge of my seat going, "Oh my god, I need Divine." But I personally have been enjoying it because it's also been supporting old decks from from Overdress era and stuff like that. So it's been supporting. It kind of reminds me of the Lyrical BT04 set all over again, where it makes everybody's happy bone come out. Like there's something good for everyone.
Following up on set 1, we got ourselves set 2, which just released I think a week and a half ago right now. And it kind of followed, the same footsteps of this set, where again Lyrical is included in the main set, still using energy and all that jazz, and it still had little trickles of support for a lot of the older decks. I feel like this one did a little bit more for the older decks because we got Flagberg, Solarian, Barrel Magus, Kyoka, like a bunch of other random decks from Overdress also got supported here. Heroes, right? There's a Nirvana card.
There's a
Compact. Yeah, there's a Eugene card. There's a Gandiva support. Like, there's so much random support here. What are we thinking about this set?
It's the set that the mask sex should have been. So, you know how you were saying, like, there's a bunch of random stuff that you couldn't play? That's the reason why this set works so well is because it didn't have all that random stuff, and it's just literally supporting all the ride lines. Which is good, because, like, if you open it, you'll find something you'll like, and that's really good. Because it even has, like, new ride lines in here. Because like Flaming G's in here, the Lyo cards are in here, like, and somehow it's still supporting everything else. So I actually really like the set. I've recently opened it. It's not just because Zorga's in here. I originally thought this was a very enjoyable set. No weird this card can only be used if you have this specific order with this specific Vanguard, and none of that. So and that's what I like. And it kind of sucks. A lot of people complain that generics are also bad because then everybody wants them. But the upside is it makes it so much more interesting to open these sets, and so I think this is definitely the right direction, and it should be the direction they should be going. It does kill the market a little bit for people trying to buy decks, but I think it adds so much more interest. Like, everyone is trying to open packs, they get excited about open generics, whatever it is that they need, they get excited about because they're looking for certain cards, they're looking for future cards. It's just a good combination.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Overall, when this cert was coming out, I kind of forgot about it just because of how the release schedule works and whatnot. But then afterwards, I remembered why I was so hyped about this set, and I play tested into it so much because there's just so much in this set right now. Especially it works off really well with the first set, and it's just a really good set overall. So I'm glad that for the most part, it's like it seems like it's doing really well and getting people into the game because it's overall just a super dope set. We're gonna get finally here to the last set that is about to release for English, at least for now, in Festival Collection 2024, and then we can sort of just quickly talk about these future products. We obviously can't expand on them because most of these aren't even out in Japan yet. Festival Collection, we know we're getting this weekend, especially when this video comes out, and it's looking to be another amazing Festival Collection as we did from 2024, because now they've upped their game because they decided, hey, it would be great if we release cyclers in these sets as well as do again over triggers and again do the Regalias pieces. How are you feeling about Fuzz of Collection 2024?
Seems really interesting and good. I didn't dive too deep on this aside from the formage package for reward, surprisingly enough. Also, I think the OTs are in this one.
Yep,
Maybe?
we got new OTs
So,
and
yeah,
also
we got new OTs.
the dual nation cards. I forgot to mention those.
Yeah, the
we have
meta-defining dual nation cards.
Yes, yes. So
that are
somewhat.
gonna break some specific decks.
Yes.
And they're also gonna be expensive, right?
Yep,
That's right.
yep.
That is. I think it is gonna be a super impactful set overall. Kind of falling under the same footsteps as Festival Collection 2023, which is good. It's like why break what's not broken type of thing, personally. So it worked well the first time. It definitely is gonna work well the second time.
With that, we have all the sets that are released, and we're getting in English for right now. And then we just have a couple of future ones that we'll be getting in English, which we'll touch on quickly. So we have set 3, which is coming out in August. And this is going to have quite a lot. So we have the return of some Youth Quake decks. We have support for brand new decks here as well. We have I think just one encounter in Venus Ukir. And then of course we have Arkwright and Shoujo Doji getting brand new forms.
I think it'll be a pretty decent set. It has a couple weak stuff in it. I don't remember all the cards in there, but I think it'll definitely be. I don't think it's as good as 01 and 02 of Divine Z. But I think it'll be like close to it. I don't think it'll be too far out.
Just released this past Friday, actually. Lyrical 1. So set 3 did not have any lyrical. Well, quote unquote, did not have any lyrical. But then they got their own. Yeah, they got their own separate set again. Which gave us upgraded forms for all 6 of the girls here from Lyrical 3, as well as 1 brand new deck and 2 encounters in Coral and Prism Vert.
And it supported Lyrical 4 too.
Lyrical 4, yep.
There's Sienna, Fennel, and Charm Out have cards in there.
Actually, I think every single Lyrical girl.
I think everything is supported. I don't know about Fortia, and I don't remember off the top of my head. You might be right. There might be support for everything, but I feel like there was either one of the sets was missed out. I can't remember. It might have been Fortia and Herminia, just because they literally just got supported.
So Herminia did get something because I remember talking about it. I don't remember Fortia, but I feel like she might have been also. But yeah,
she probably did because support we just probably worked over it. But anyway, long story short, it follows the same festival as the Halloween sets so far from what I'm seeing, where it has its own aesthetic going, and I actually really like the color scheme they went with this set. So I know it's kind of random, but it's a very pretty set, and it's probably going to show some impact because there's a couple decks in there that are actually going to be very strong. So I think it's going to be a good deck overall. It's going to be one of those decks that one of those sets that on release is going to be probably not so impactful, and then as time goes, we're going to start seeing results.
We'll put them tentatively here, and then we'll just quickly touch on these that we're getting at the end of the year, which are
strong.
Yep, the new Stride deck sets for Harry and Night Rose, which honestly I feel like will end up being just the strongest decks that have ever been released in Standard. If we know anything about Night Rose, I honestly don't see how these will not be strong compared to everything else.
I think it'll be Night Rose first and Harry second. Definitely. This happens every time because Harry's always a little bit more restrictive than Night Rose.
100%.
Not that Harry's bad, he's just slightly more restrictive, which makes him just that slightly less consistent. But I think Rose is going to be probably insane. I could be completely wrong, and honestly, in some ways, I kind of hope I'm wrong, because it would be Night Rose in every format again, just being completely dominating. It's dominating premium. It's very, very good in V. It's not the best deck, but it is one of the best decks. And if it hits D2, then it'll be the best deck in D as well. So it's going to be another triple format of the same card, which has been around for who knows how many years now, instead of Divine decks. And we're just going to go back into the same puddle of, okay, I'm going to go play Night Rose instead of playing Raziel, or I'm going to, or Zorga, for that would be in this case. Or I'm going to go play Luard instead of playing Raziel. You know, it's back to the same thing that we've talked about over the course of the 3-year period that we've been getting these Stride decks, by the way. We've had one basically every year. So I don't know what they're going to do to slow these decks down. I don't think they're going to get slowed down. We'll have to see.
But hey, we'll see. I guess that'll be a problem for future Orange and Curly. And we'll see what happens in in almost a year, half a year from now. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think that'll do it. We have here every single product for Overdress for basically till the end of the year. We're missing one which is set
Yeah.
5 it defines, but we literally know nothing about this product. We don't even know if we're getting it in English. I'm sure we are, but
Yeah.
we just don't know. But with that, I'd just like to thank everyone for watching this, and of course, thank you, Orange, for coming on and doing this with me. If you'd like to plug anything, go right ahead.
I have a YouTube channel, I have Twitch, I have Twitter that I use a lot. They're all out of Orange, basically, so I'm pretty easy to find on all the platforms. Yeah, I think that's really it. Thank you for having me, and sub to Curly. He creates a lot of good content. Very underrated Vanguard person. I would say so. Definitely support him. He does a lot of cool stuff. He always tries cool ideas, and I personally really enjoy them. He really thinks out of the box a lot of times when he does all this, and all his streams look really cool. He's got all the videos playing and stuff, so it's always something interesting to look at. Always, it keeps my monkey brain going. Monkey brain see video play. Monkey brain go watch. So yeah, also there definitely and also thank you for having me, by the way. So I appreciate it. And but FYI, this is probably a long video, but we did go through what 3-4 years of the entirety of D format. This is literally everything, and we've both been playing the game since the beginning, since set 1, even before set 1, probably even proxying prior. So obviously we have a lot to say because we've literally been playing this entire time. So that's probably why we had a lot to say. A lot happened in 3-4 years.
Yeah,
it's been a ride. It's been a good ride overall. I will say I do like D format as a whole. I know I complained a lot during all of this, but I actually do enjoy the format. I wouldn't have 30-something decks if I didn't like the format. Obviously, I wouldn't be spending money just to spend money outside of content, but I wouldn't be playing. You know, I'm obviously playing. I've been enjoying it. So
we wouldn't have lived through all of this if we didn't like it. So
exactly, we wouldn't be in Divine if we didn't like the game.
Exactly. All right. I'll have the links for everything Outer Orange related in the description down below. Please go check her out, sub and follow, and all that jazz. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, play Vanguard, and have yourselves a damn good one.
До свидания.